thought I was going to get into this later, but we'll get into it now. You are never in or out of alignment. You are alignment. And when we are doing things that are misaligned, we are actually only sensing, empathing, feeling that pattern and how humanity has related to it as a whole. So we are literally empathing how, for example, me, it was like December 2019, and I'm like lactose intolerant. And I could not stop eating ice cream. Like it was just like every single night, I couldn't even just have one bite of ice cream. It was like the entire container every single night, you know? And at first I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Like I can't eat ice cream. This is bad for me, blah, 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 blah. Which are just you interfacing with all the ideas and things that are misaligned, but they're only engaged with when we think it's wrong for us to do so. And when it's okay for me to do that, then I unhook from the excitement energy, which you were talking about, the constant checking and things. There's the excitement aspect of that energy and the anxious part of that energy. And so we can collapse that by making both okay to be interfacing with, because there is a distance between the things that are occurring and who's watching. If you think you are the things that you're doing and all this stuff, then you're going to be wrapped up in the identity of trying to self-improve rather than recognizing that you are the improvement, engaging with what doesn't know that it's okay. And when it knows it is okay, it dissolves away. That's a good one. When it knows it's okay, it dissolves away. So what I started doing is I would like purposefully and intentionally go and like buy ice cream. Like, okay, we're gonna eat ice cream. What ice cream do you want today? Let's fully engage with this. And it was only like a couple of weeks before it dissolved away completely. And I rarely, if ever, touch ice cream now. But now if I want it and it feels right, I just go with it because I have a different relationship with it. And what you'll actually notice is food sensitivities are actually teaching us intuition. Because when I feel like, oh yeah, I want an ice cream, I'm lactose intolerant. If my body is like, yeah, let's have an ice cream, and it feels like, yeah, that's a good choice, I will eat the ice cream and have zero effect. If I am like, oh, I really want ice cream, but there's kind of like this, like I shouldn't be doing this, I'm gonna eat the ice cream and have like a really awful experience. You know, I don't normally drink, right? And, you know, came to Mexico and like, you know, when in Mexico. So I had some margaritas, and like normally my body, like even just a year ago or a year or two ago, when I was like working at a restaurant, I would like taste wine for work meetings and I would just feel awful. But my body was like, yeah, let's have a margarita. And I'm like, all right, let's have a margarita. And I had it. 3, woke up the next morning, like no problem. So we think, and this is again what I've talked about previously, principles versus presence. We're moving into a stage of consciousness where things are about presence, not principles, because the principle path will lead you into forever engaging with things that take you away from your principles, only for you to play out the game that you must reaffirm your principles. But the interesting thing is that when you engage with presence, all things that truly aren't in alignment with that presence that you are eventually dissolve away, but it's all effortless. And you're going to go through the patterns, the habits, whatever that you have to go through, because that's what you are contracted to in some degree to engage with. So why have a fucking bad experience of it? Like when you fully engage with it and make it okay, like you get to have the same experience you would have, but it's gonna be like amazing. Like instead of like hating myself for a month and potentially extending the time that I have to go through this experience, I can just make it all okay. And that actually speeds up the reception of bliss, of joy, of harmony, because it's not necessarily the thing that is out of alignment, it's our relationship to it. And when we change our relation to it, we are actually rewiring for humanity as a collective how to relate to things. And so we can actually start to engage when we depersonalize it. We can fully take responsibility. And by fully taking responsibility, we actually shift the entire paradigm for the world around us. And then you'll start to notice, like, people aren't addicted to smoking cigarettes. They're addicted to feeling bad about smoking cigarettes. And when you are totally okay with whatever habits and patterns people have, it ruins it for them, because you're so okay with it, and they're engaging with it in a way that's like destructive, because they're like, oh my God, I shouldn't be doing this. And I'm like, no, you should do another line of cocaine. And you know what happens when you say that? Like, they're like, wait, what? Like, huh? Because they're engaging with it as something that they should push away from, which that is actually the unhealthy relationship. It's not, the relationship with the cocaine. And actually, speaking of cocaine, I'm in Mexico, and I found some coca leaves at this raw vegan store. And I've always wanted to like chew the leaves and just like see the, because humans create these synthetic things that are way more intense than what the natural thing is. So I'm sitting and meditating, and I start chewing this coca leaf, and I ask the plant for a transmission. And immediately I hear, the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's satisfaction and contentment. So we can engage with anything as an addiction if we are attempting to be satisfied by it at a later date. And this goes for the healing journey. And this is why the healing journey is collapsing, because the healing journey is all about receiving satisfaction and contentment at a time when I'm healed. But you'll never reach healing. It's impossible. You can never reach healing by attempting to heal yourself. You are what is healed. And as that integrates into your body, it will flush out of the cells of your body all that is not in resonance with who you are. So I could right now go down the street, if that desire were to arise, and my body's like, let's do a line of cocaine. Like, okay, like that, like from a mind perspective, oh my God, like I should not do that. And I'm not suggesting that you do. But what I'm saying is that if I were to engage with that in complete contentment and satisfaction, I would do it, and it would not have an addictive energy to it, because I would be so okay with it. But the funny thing is, because I'm so okay with it, that desire is not going to arise. And so when we have desires that seem counter to our alignment arise, if we engage with them with so much okayness, regardless of whether we choose to go through it or not, it will dissolve. And if there are two ways to engage with it, it's like, okay, for example, one way I would never purposefully engage with something in order to make it okay. Me going to McDonald's and ordering a meal. That would absolutely never happen. But I realize it would be totally okay if I did. So you can either engage with okayness by making the choice and making it from a place of innocence and okayness in relation to any choice that you make, and that will dissolve the energy. Or you can just feel in your body that it's totally okay to make that choice, but say, I still don't think that's something that I'm going to do, and don't let that make you think like I have to choose the choice and make it okay. Like, no, you can just not make the choice and equally make it as okay. But that again is kind of what you're talking about is really like an integration of third eye or presence, because presence is what is interfacing with everything in reality. And our job really is to, our play is to really just engage with it in a way that is okay. Like, it's okay if I'm, you know, and we've all heard this, it's okay to be angry, but what does that really mean? It means that the energy of it only feels that way because it does not know it is okay, especially anger, because anger is one of those emotions that's so powerful and people are so afraid of it that they suppress it because they don't think it's okay. And that suppression will make you engage with it more until it is okay for you to be angry.
Yeah.
Whew. So just settling into your seat, or if you're lying down, gonna do a little meditation called settling into safety. And rather than me telling you what safety is or what it feels like or what it looks like, I'm going to ask you to just, what does safety look like as a color or a shape or maybe a geometry to you? And begin just cultivating that psychic connection, because I don't know, maybe safety to you looks like a queen size bed or a big tree or a warm sun. Maybe it's red or green, brown or blue. Whatever color or sensation. And allowing this color or shape or geometry, whatever comes to you, to start filling your body. Starting with your feet, or wherever feels safest for you, for that energy to start coming in and filling up your body. Allowing it to find every crevice, every joint, every tissue, every part of your energy body. Letting the breath slow. And just getting curious, maybe you could even increase the density, the amount of safety that you can fill in the body. Maybe at first it's just so much brightness in the body, but can you add even more? like sipping even more breath when your lungs are already full. And the safety in the body is so important to knowing, seeing, and understanding. And when we have knowing or seeing, that brings us out of this deep sense of safety. Doesn't mean that it is true, but that there is something to be refined in order to bring it into this depth of alignment. We are never wrong. We are only becoming more right, more coherent. So much of us have a pattern of perfectionism, and that's okay. Perfectionism is actually an excellent quality of the divine. You could think of it as the pioneering energy, what is always looking to refine and perfect. We think of perfect, meaning pristine and flawless. But perfect is not something that is arrived at, but a perfecting, to perfect, to refine, to become more excellent, not as opposed to what is not perfect. But to simply become more integrated and aligned, the perfection that is always there. And from this place, asking for a radical upgrade from the Akashic records for causeless confidence, allowing it to reorient every atom in your being to this place of confidence that cannot be moved from. Causeless confidence, regardless if we are right or wrong in any intuition or instance or moment. It's not that we are right or wrong, but that life continually gives us different experiences of ourselves in order to cultivate more compassion, more gentleness, more refinement. So what if every time that you thought you did something wrong was actually life animating you in a particular way, just to give you the opportunity to come into more causeless confidence and causeless perfection. Perfection that cannot be achieved, but only realized as what is always occurring. And again, just as a crystal grows from its cloudy beginnings into clearer and clearer aspects of itself until its termination point. Every soul begins growing with this cloudy orientation towards itself, unclear of many different things. But it would be silly to say that the early parts of the crystal and its growing process were wrong, because they are the foundation for the clarity that was destined to be revealed. And so every sense of error may be purged from your cellular body, recognizing that error is just how clarity sees what came before it when anchored in doubt. So we ask for a clearing of these doubts and distractions, misconceptions, all ideas and beliefs around knowing, seeing, and understanding. To be dissolved prior to their creation. Recognizing and thanking these aspects that we interfaced with like a software for the things that we learned from them. And thanking them for the completion, the coherence, and clarity that they brought us. Closing out all chapters of belief and disbelief. Allowing pure experiential knowing and direct access to knowing to be activated. I only know when I know, and I always know. But until then, I don't know. Until I know, I don't know. And I always know when I know. Until then, I don't know. I always know what I know when I know. Until then, I don't need to know. I don't know how I know what I know. But when I need to know, I'll know how I'll know that I know. I only know when I know, and I always know. But until then, I don't know. Until I know, I don't know. And I always know when I know. Until then, I don't know. I always know what I know when I know. Until then, I don't need to know. I don't know how I know what I know. But when I need to know, I'll know how I'll know that I know. I only know when I know. And I always know. But until then, I don't know. Until I know, I don't know. And I always know when I know. Until then, I don't know. I always know what I know when I know. Until then, I don't need to know. I don't know how I know what I know, but when I need to know, I'll know how I know that I know. I only know when I know, and I always know, but until then, I don't know. Until I know, I don't know, and I always know when I know. Until then, I don't know. I always know what I know when I know. Until then, I don't need to know. I don't know how I know what I know, but when I need to know, I'll know how I'll know that I know. I only know when I know, and I'll always know, but until then, I don't know. Until I know, I don't know, and I'll always know when I know. Until then, I don't know. I always know what I know when I know. Until then, I don't need to know. I don't know how I know what I know, but when I need to know, I'll know how I'll know that I know. And allowing these mantras to integrate fully into every cell of your being, activating and integrating every aspect of the energy body into the fourth eye, reconnecting all relevant known and unknown aspects of human energy field to this point, and clearing all channels between them in the most optimal, harmonious, joyful, and pleasant way. Allowing all of these energies to be grounded, fully expressed, and received in joy, harmony, contentment, and satisfaction. And opening up the Akashic records for each individual, allowing each to receive their own particular initiations, activations, clearings, healings, and the most pertinent and optimal light information for their particular journey. As it relates to the fourth eye and the channel between the fifth and the third that the fourth represents. And specifically asking for activations around safety, the integration of time and timelessness, innocence and war, collapsing all polarities between masculine and feminine, representing that channel between the third and fourth eye, And collapsing all polarities between human and divine, representing that channel between the fifth and the fourth eyes. And asking for the most coherent, precise, optimal, and joyful expansion of the channel. From fifth eye to root, widening the capacity of light information to be uploaded and downloaded between source and the human event, like an upgrade from dial-up to fiber optic internet. Clearing out all doubts about divinity, clearing out all rejections of humanity, balancing all gifts, abilities, and talents of the masculine and feminine energies. And absolving the queer channel of all karma, all rejection, all overcompensation, all withdrawal, all silencing, and all feelings of abandonment, misunderstanding, self-denial, self-rejection, self-abandonment, winding all of these aspects together into singular, unified field of expression between all four quadrants. Prior to the point of disunification, closing the chapter of separation, and allowing the full integration of this to be received in exponential potency in direct relation to the amount of grace, ease, and mercy to the physical and all things affecting the physical, letting it be received prior to its delivery, making the integration seamless and almost imperceptible. Allowing all energies of the mind, the heart, and the gut to blend harmoniously, with perfect synchronization, absolute clarity, and joyful contentment, regardless of how any aspect is perceived in any moment. allowing the physical body to easily be updated and realigned to these new orientations to self. And sleep. And providing clear communication between each individual's Akashic record for any integrations that may be particular to themselves in the next sleep cycle. And upon waking, receiving it all as joyfully, easily, as is most optimal for their journey. So that harmony is no longer something kept in a loop of time, but present regardless of the experience at hand. Rectified, rejoiced, and rehabilitated. And closing the Akashic records for each individual, sealing the energies that have been received, bringing everyone back down into their bodies, or back within their bodies, from that deeper place that is within with which we just went. Taking a few slow, deep inhales and exhales. Moving and opening your eyes as you see fit. Everyone looks like they just took a good nap. All right. So if someone is dying to share, they can. Otherwise, you can type something in the chat, of course, at any time. You can also ask questions that way. Let's take just like a 3-minute break in order for you to get a couple pieces of paper and a pen or a paper if you do not have it, and use the restroom if you'd like. And then we will get going on some really cool journaling that we're going to be doing today. So super excited. All right. See you in 3 minutes. I love that, Gina. That's amazing. Whew. Yeah, a lot of release for sure. Yeah, anyone, you can raise your hand if you'd like. We're just waiting for, I think, a few more people to get back. Or you can type it in the box, as I said. Beautiful. Got an image of the separation between negative and positive energies, the self-depreciation or self-compassion, love or hate, and then saw them both blend together in the colorless form of emotional energy. I saw each emotion being attached to each channel. Yeah, that's specifically why I said it was coming through strong. I'm like, do I really have to say like innocence and war? But it's like, it's really what it is. It's either innocence or we're at war. And that is expressed through so many different ways. All right, I think everyone is back. Okay, so there are so many different things that we can talk about today. And actually, I divided up this particular energy center into two because there was so much that I wanted to cover. So first, I'll just talk about, the fourth eye. The third eye is feminine. It's all about receptivity and receiving information. The fourth eye does something similar, but it's more of a masculine energy. It's more going out and this is like more of our psychic center, whereas the third eye is more of our intuitive center. And the fourth eye is like the eye of knowing, but a word that came to me yesterday is the eye of curiosity. And what we're going to be doing today as we're journaling is going through different powerful questions to ask ourselves in order to really tune into our intuition. Because you can be intuitive about anything, but unless you know the right questions to ask, and there could, like, for example, how did I do that so horribly? Like, that's a question that's just gonna lead you into receiving information of some type, but the quality of it isn't necessarily going to be helpful for you. So we're gonna be asking helpful questions that will allow you to see some really deep things for yourself, and also become aware of how you can tune into your intuition. And so this is when we really start to blur the lines between what is intuition and what is psychic, because really they're the same thing, but there is a reason why it's called intuition and psychic. Intuition is how we utilize the information, and psychic is basically the access point to that information. Typically, the crown chakra is like thought of as this like antenna that is connecting to source. And while that's not necessarily untrue, again, as we talked about previously, it's connecting to that fifth eye space in the back of the head, which is the interface portal between consciousness and experiential reality. It's why movies like Avatar and The Matrix, they utilize that image, whether it's consciously done or not. That knowing that is the point where we plug into an interface between this reality and spirit, and really the blending of them both occurs at this back spot. And actually, some lady messaged me saying that in mystic Christianity, that the still small voice, like that's actually the location of it. So I thought that was interesting. And the ancient Hawaiians, as I said last time, believe this is the portal to consciousness. All right, so let's start with, let's do a little telepathy exercise. So on your page, just for a moment, think about someone that you've had the most struggle with in your life, whoever it is. Maybe it's multiple people. But just write their name down on the top of your page. And then you're going to just sit with yourself for a moment and ask to connect with their soul. And you'll get either an affirmative yes or a no. I don't think I've ever gotten a no. At that level, when you're engaging, there's such deep respect and engagement. And so when you get that yes, ask for a transmission of optimal resolve on every layer of your being. Physical, emotional, spiritual, energetic, in whatever way. Allowing whatever needs to be said, understood, relayed, or expressed in any way. Sometimes it may not come in words. We all receive information in different ways. And as you feel ready, you can just begin to write some of those things down if you are ready yet. Give some more time for this piece. And just when you're finished, you can type in the chat box. Just write finished or something like that. Something like that, you're funny. All right, as you're finishing, you can raise your hand if you'd like to share, if you have something to share. Can be, and what does not nourish you is what depletes you, what leaves you feeling deficient in any kind of way. This is a good practice to do semi-regularly. Could even be like a weekly journaling thing, because these things will change and become more refined as time goes on. Just like what nourishes us mentally in third grade is not the same in eighth grade. Sometimes that relationship that we began nourished us, and we digested it all. So eating your poop is not necessarily nutritious. Again. Oh, good. And just as people are starting to finish up, if you want to say anything, you can. Just raise your hand using the hand feature, or we'll go directly into the next piece. Sometimes when doing this exercise, it can lead to a lot of feeling of defeat, especially when we're recognizing that there are a lot of things that don't nourish us that we're engaging with, which is fine. All the things on that side of things that don't nourish us are things that we simply make okay in two ways: either cease to do it or make it okay that you can't stop doing it. And what that does is it actually is rewiring your nervous system, because what nourishes you more than anything is innocence and okayness. And by cultivating innocence and okayness, regardless if you need to make that choice and make it okay and innocent, or know that it is and do not, it's flushing out all sense of error and wrongness. And you're also aware that you don't want to do these things because eventually you will stop doing them. But like I always say with the 10 Commandments, it's actually more like the 10 promises. And people misinterpreted it from a space of error, attempting to create a right for themselves. The 10 promises are that this is how you will be when anchored in higher consciousness. But wherever you're starting, just find the smallest amount of okay, the smallest amount of safety, and move from here. And you can even, just like we did in the first part, connecting with someone who you have the most struggle with, each of the things that we continue to engage with that don't nourish us have an energy of their own. They are consciousness that we are engaging with. So we can involve ourselves in the same way, relating to them on an energetic level. Reveal to me a transmission of optimal resolve. Share with me how I can relate to you better so that you feel safe and okay. So that's something that we can do now or in your own time. And of course, you'll have, I'm just giving you a template of what is possible and how to engage with things in your life. So I think we're gonna do. I have like so much written down. We'll do more of this next time as well. But I want to get into money and doing the same telepathy exercise, but with money itself as an energy. So just writing in on your page somewhere. Maybe you need another. Turn the paper over and just write money. And specifically what came to me was to ask for a transmission of appreciating the value of money with compounding interest for our most optimal and immediate access to the upgraded relationship with money. Ask to receive from money how to better your relationship with it. Could just be a feeling, maybe it's words, an
Barrett,
idea.
Could you say the statement about the appreciation piece?
Again, yeah.
Thank you.
Ask for a transmission of appreciating the value of money with compounding interest for our most optimal and immediate upgrade to the relationship with money. So just like we relate to anyone else, we have a relationship with money. And so we can literally, this is where, and we'll move more into this next class. Today is more, again, it's kind of the blending of receiving and commanding. The fourth eye is a command center. It's a very masculine energy. So we'll do more commands and how to move energy in this way. But right now it's more of like a still, we're commanding, but it's more of a feminine asking to receive. So asking money how its relationship with you can be better. Asking for a transmission of resolve. Could even do this with debt. Asking what is the most optimal way for me to engage with you. A lot of times our stress around money is related again to time. Our relationship to when we have it. Versus when we think we need it. Sometimes life makes us more creative by giving us less than what we think we need. We always have what we need, just like you always know what you know until you know. Until then, you don't know. Those are very powerful mantras about knowing and really resolving these areas of engaging with time. Because, again, we always know when we know. Until then, we don't know. That fear and anxiety around knowing things, like how often are how we relating to life is waiting for something, waiting for information, waiting to feel safe, waiting to feel abundant, waiting to feel enlightened, or whatever that means for you. Essentially, it all comes down to waiting to feel safe. And if you're okay with not knowing, you're beginning to integrate the silence. The most powerful intuition you can have sometimes is nothing coming to you. And that's a very intuitive space because it helps you realize that you don't need any information right now. And the masculine is oversaturated with information because the masculine's always is the one that has been burdened with attempting to reach towards something and it can never receive. So there will be effort that the masculine puts in. But it's the feminine who reminds for rest and sleep. All right, so I'm going to tell two quick stories. Um, okay, so I'm going to tell two quick stories, and then we're going to go into a little kind of like medical intuition, right? So early last year, I had an antibiotic resistant infection, and like nothing was working. My body was like freaking out. And one day I just decided, I was like, why am I not communicating with this bacteria? And so I just sat down and I started meditating with it. And I asked it, I was like, why are you here? And they were like, I saw millions of eyes just like look at me like, are you talking to us? And I said, yes. Why are you here? What do you need to teach me? What value are you here to provide me? Because I'm assuming that you're here to bring more of me to the surface. So what is that? And they said, we're here to ensure your unrelenting drive towards health. It's like, okay, perfect. Thank you. Well, what do I need to do? And they shared with me exactly the steps that I needed to take. And they actually gave me this specific prescription of medicines and herbs and things that I had never even heard of before to take in order to resolve it. And it actually worked. So, and their words were saying, now that you have honored us as equals in consciousness, we will reveal how to resolve us, or essentially kill us. Yeah. So recognizing that you have that capacity to work with illness. I'm doing this with a cancer patient right now. We're doing daily sessions, and they're communicating with cancer and getting information on how to really begin healing their body, because their doctors really aren't doing much at all. I mean, they're overwhelmed with COVID right now, but you know, this capacity to communicate with our bodies, you know, and it can be over analyzed in many ways. You know, people get really into this. They're like, my left knee is crooked on Tuesday, and according to this book, it means that I have a bad relationship with my mother or something. I don't know, you know. So you can get really deep into it. And I'm not suggesting that because it can make you fucking neurotic. But, you know, and sometimes it's like, I'm engaging with people like that, and I have like, let's say I have like pink eye or something, and someone's like, oh my God, that must mean, I'm like, no, I just have pink eye. Can I just have pink eye? You know, so you have to be discerning for yourself when there's something deeper to look at, or when you're just over analyzing yourself to try and get it away, because that will not bring you relief. Trying to push it away by trying to figure it out is just a way that the masculine is, again, attempting to overwhelm what it can't control by trying to shove it away. Again, war. So it's about coming into harmony with the things that are in our body in order to facilitate healing. And, you know, yesterday, this person was thanking cancer. So it's really beautiful that we can start to begin changing our relationships with these things. Again, another example is I was at Rainbow Grocery in San Francisco, and I was like shopping around, and I was like, I feel like there's something that I'm missing, like in my cart, like, hey body, is there anything that you need? And in my mind, I hear the word kelp. I'm like, kelp, I've never looked up kelp. I don't know what it is or what it does. So I go to the supplement aisle and I find a kelp extract. And I take it home and I just start taking it, you know, I'm like, my body must need it. I don't know why. Within like 24, 48 hours, I feel amazing, like a flood of energy, mental clarity, like all these things. And I'm like, what does kelp even do? Because it's iodine. So I like look up iodine, and it's balancing the thyroid and is used if you have low thyroid. So I didn't know I had hypothyroid. I didn't know what needed to fix it, but my body knew that I had hypothyroid, and it also knew what materials it needed in order to balance itself. So this is like the power that we have access to all the fucking time, but we've been conditioned to Google things and look at WebMD first, which that's cool as well. I'm not saying, not discounting that as an informational source, but if you want to be more intuitive, it requires practice. You need to experience these things and test them out for yourself, because every time you have an experience like this, it downloads into your nervous system more familiarity. And the more familiarity you have, the safer your body feels to receiving this information. And even just me sharing this is reorganizing the subconscious in your mind and in your body, so that you can actually begin to receive these on a deeper level, because I'm sharing possibility. And when you receive possibility, that possibility opens up within yourself, and you can begin practicing this on a daily basis. Like, I call myself an intuitarian. I rarely eat meat, but when I do, it's because my body asks for it. I had a really bad accident in 2015. I was completely vegan, very strict, principles based, only going to eat this way. And my acupuncturist is like, you need to eat collagen. I was like, you want me to go from vegan to the least vegan thing possible on the planet? No way. So I kept not doing it. My knee kept collapsing, and my body kept saying to me, give us collagen, give us collagen, give us collagen. I'm like, fine, I'll eat ground up bone and soft tissue. So I did. Within, again, 48 hours, I felt all this strength return to my body. And a knee that has been collapsing for 2 years, within 1 month, is completely healed. And I never have to ever deal with it again. So it's moving again away from principles into presence, because that actually allows us to engage with intuition, because intuition is working in a quantum field, not a linear way. So all the things that the oversaturated masculine has attempted to learn in order to perfect itself into an image of which it adores and thinks that it will be more adored by when it achieves, cannot access the quantum field of intuitive and psychic capacity, because it is in a quantum space, meaning that you're not in a linear path. Sometimes the right answer is yes. And if you've ever had a session with me, you may recall when I'll say this sentence and this sentence right next to each other, and they completely contradict each other, because this sentence activates something in your nervous system. And as soon as that is safe and okay, then I can say this, and it's a deeper truth, but they can completely contradict each other, because truth is a flowing movement, not something concrete that we can learn. And that's why when we really start to move into the upper chakras, it can challenge the spiritual ego, because the third eye is when we come into like presence, and it's really when we integrate the human and the divine aspects. But as we're learning spirituality, we collect data, and that collection of data is not really helpful at the end of the day, because we can know what other people know, but your spiritual development only matters when it's integrated. And the fastest way to integrate your unique frequency of light is to experience it. And you have to, it's like testing. But if you're afraid of being right and wrong, which is why we did the meditation to help resolve that, then you can't test things. Just like when I talked about last class, when there was that individual who was going to commit suicide, and I felt in the Akashic records that it was impossible for them to do so. And I was advised that I had to tell them that they should do it. That was a major, major test, to test my intuition to the capacity where it could cost someone else their life. Like, that's fucking intense. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'll do it. So I did. And exactly as I saw it played out. But you have to be willing to test it. If you're afraid of being wrong, if you don't feel safe with making an error, you'll always be in error. You can't be in error if you're willing to be in error. Then there's no such thing as an error. It's just a casual consideration of all the different experiments that you're playing in. And the reason you're trying to get it so right is because you think that you are the one that's waking up. And we can talk about this more if people want, but you know, I've been downloading something called the Lucifer experiment for a long time and rewriting the whole way consciousness has developed. And I'll definitely talk about it next month in the Power, Pleasure, and Presence piece. But I'll touch on it now because I think it's so important. The Lucifer experiment is a separation from source. Source was this all 0 point, all integers from negative to positive. Put them together, it's 0. It's nothing and everything all at once. There's no experience. In order for spirit to have an experience, it had to have something else to reference. So Lucifer, the energy which we consider bad, is a separation from source. It's an experiment of relating to something that cannot relate to itself. It's a container for experience. In mystic Christianity, there was source and the creator of material. They were two separate beings. So this is played out in different variations of religion or spiritual ideas or whatnot. And even in science, the simulation theory. I met this guy at a ceremony a couple of weeks ago, and I felt like I downloaded all this information based on the feminine or the like more spiritual aspect of the experiment. And he had learned all this from a very scientific view. So there's even a scientific principle and understanding of the experiment, or that we are in a simulation. So, but on an energetic level, the experiment is essentially what we are living out right now. The idea, the experience that we are separate from other beings. And the container is that energy called Lucifer. And that energy is becoming aware of itself. And that self-awareness we perceive on an individual level as our own awakening. So take the fucking responsibility and weight of your ascension and your healing process off of yourself, because you're only experiencing it happening to you, and you're making yourself responsible for it, which means that you're actually creating more time for yourself in a journey where you don't get to be your ultimate self. You're already your ultimate self. You're only perceiving a lower timeline of that because you're trying to make yourself into something that can ascend. You're already fucking ascended. It's a journey of integration. I dissolve the word integration into great eon, into great time. It's a period of into greatness, integration. That it's an incoming energy. It's again, the soul coming into form and flushing out of the cells of the being all that are not in resonance with you. And there's something, you know, maybe it'll be today. Let's find out. But I've been hearing the word beyond sovereignty for a few weeks. And I've been really just kind of engaging with this, because what does that actually mean? And this will be, I've started typing out the booklet for this and next class, which you'll get the end of following Saturday. If you were to, a few years ago, there's like this element of like, okay, I'm on a spiritual journey. I'm going to ask source, the universe, God, whatever, what is my purpose? And we are, again, remember from last class, relating to things vertically. Like I am here, source and universe, the ultimate, all that is here, and I'm relating into it as this small character, and it is like all that. I'm not all that. No, it's all up there. But what we're transitioning to is an integration, a collapse between the human and divine aspects and merging them together, along with masculine and feminine. That is the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension is the you, 1 point, that encapsulates everything of all the other 4 quadrants. You are the fifth element, the fifth piece. So when it's not wrong to experience the experiment of separation in attempt to reach for oneness, then you already are that. There's no reaching for unity consciousness. There's no reaching for oneness. Like at this point, and like, I don't even know what that means. Like it just sounds absurd to me because you are that. You're only experiencing the confusion of not being that. So you have a journey from cloudiness to clarity. And that is actually enjoyable. Like we want to be here in the separation because there's no other experience. And in this new stage, when we are moving beyond sovereignty, because sovereignty, the idea of sovereignty is like, if you literally think about it, it is time or space. It's a separation from me and something like I'm sovereign from that. But if you're truly one with all that is, what are you sovereign from? What does that even mean? To be sovereign from something else. And it's a way we create distance and shame and guilt within ourselves and others when we're not sovereign. Beyond sovereignty is what's witnessing the experience of what can be sovereign or not sovereign. In the 0 point, there's no experience of sovereign or not sovereign. And beyond sovereignty is this place where if you were to ask God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, what's my purpose? You know, the only answer you would hear back, you decide. You decide. You're no longer relating to something in a vertical manner. Remember, if from the booklet, energy is cycling in a Fibonacci sequence, which means that the God or source that you think that is above you in the old masculine understanding of spirituality, which is a vertical relationship, this is internal. It's infinitely inside of you and infinitely outside of you. And that place where you observe either is the fifth eye. It's the portal point. It's the window, the space between those two experiences. And you're like sandwiched between 2 panes of glass so that you can experience what it's like to have a relationship with spirit or have a relationship with other beings outside of you. Nowhere else but besides that sandwiching between the 2 panes of glass does that experience exist. And that's why you want to be here. So way more fun. So rather than, because I'm feeling it now, everything that we just talked about is sliding to the side. Everything that we thought was wrong with us because all of that is just what we are interfacing with and making okay. And the more that we make it okay, it collapses the design of polarity and brings us into the harmony that's always here. Because you're gonna be and behave and act and say and do whatever it is that you need to do in order to download okayness. Otherwise, you'll go insane. And the pressure that the world is being put in is, are you gonna be safe and okay now, or are you gonna wait until things calm down, or whatever that means? And so life is on this divergent path, like which way are you going to engage? And at the end, if you really, really zoom out, you're not even in charge of when you decide to have this occur. Because that's part of the design. And I'm not saying you don't have free will, but when you engage with that idea of it's not even your choice of when this dawns on you, that there is a choice, it frees you of the burden of thinking that you're the one in control. That's the masculine is so oversaturated with the idea that it needs to control and manipulate and create war because it doesn't feel safe. But it doesn't feel safe because the ideas with which it is engaging are out of alignment with spirit and nature. So we are never out of alignment. The things that we are engaging are just showing us how out of alignment with spirit they are. All ideas, beliefs, thoughts are things that you're interfacing with. I started noticing this when when I look at someone, there's like this tendency for me to like pick out a particular feature of them, and I always compliment it. Like I'm so drawn to it, like, oh my God, that's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Like, and it's like their nose or this freckle on there. I'm like, wow, I love that. I love that freckle. And I've always asked to be used by spirit to flush things out, to be clear and open and receptive to beauty. Beauty is what looks through my eyes. I don't attempt to see beauty. It's what looks and experiences through me into this reality. And that piece that I notice about other people, 9 times out of 10, they say to me, oh my God, that's so funny, because that's like the least thing that I like about myself. And it's just life using me as a tool to remind them that only they are the ones that are experiencing that way of themselves. And I'm in that moment handing them power and reminding them of the power that they have. So when you're out in the world, like you think you're having judgmental thoughts and negative experiences about other people, and you're actually just becoming aware of what's around you. Like your thoughts are not your thoughts. They are just in the field and you're picking up on them. And you can begin to become more telepathic by beginning testing this out. Like when you're around someone and you hear a particular thought or whatever. For example, so I was sitting I used to sell timeshare, which is like hilarious. And I was sitting at this table and our little chairs, our little tables are like sitting next to each other and we're all packed in this room together. So I have my client on the other side of the table. And then my friend is sitting over here and she's working with her client. And so I'm mid talking to my client, and all of a sudden from the left side of my head, I hear, oh my God, I love her lipstick. And I'm like, and it felt like it was coming from this side. And meanwhile, I'm like talking to my client and I'm hearing this at the same time. And I stop and I turned to her and I was like, you love her lipstick, don't you? And she's like, oh my God, I was just thinking that. And she's like, how did you know? I was like, I heard it. And then everybody was just like, oh my God, what the fuck is happening right now? But we think that like the way we formulate our individual experience, like the reason I'm able to like tap into like other people's experiences when I'm like writing things is because I'm not under the impression that the things that are coming, that I'm experiencing in my reality are like mine. I'm just like, oh, like there's a lot of like doubt and restriction in this area of my body. Like, okay, that's like what's happening right now. And like, we're all having our individual experience of what is coming through. So when there are like thoughts, they're like, it's like they're just like this ocean of thoughts and we're just tuning into what is there. And if you begin to like engage with it instead of like, oh, that's my thought, or like, I'm thinking this, which you can't even do that because if you are in that state, you are the thought, like you're the puppet for the energy. So we begin to pull back, witness that we are experiencing these things, and then we engage with them in fun little games, like, you know, hearing a thought about someone liking lipstick coming from a certain direction. You're like, oh, I think you like your lipstick, don't you? And, you know, you feel something around someone and you speak to them as if like they said it out loud to you. Like, oh, like I'm feeling like really sad. Like, how's your heart doing? You know, like you don't even have to like make it weird for other people. Just like, how are you doing? Like, no, I'm like, you know, I'm feeling really sad, you know? So you begin to understand and really anchor into your nervous system the remembrance that you have these capacities. But, you know, as empaths, we tend to be aware of people's emotions, but we're not necessarily realizing that we are empathing people's thoughts. Everything in your experience that you think is your experience is just what you're interfacing with. And I say this over and over and over again because it is so important to understand that while you're having a personal experience, nothing is about you. And that's why everyone is saying, like, you're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings, you're not your whatever. It doesn't mean that we can't engage with them personally because we came to have a personal experience, but it's resolving you of the feeling that it's your fault that you're having these thoughts or your fault that you're having these feelings. When I'm around people that, you know, have felt particularly judged, I'll start feeling like, oh my God, like all these, like, oh my God, like I hate her shoes or her feet look weird or whatever it is. And I'm not under the assumption that I'm judging or criticizing this person. I'm just becoming aware of what judgments and criticisms have been in their experience. And then I know exactly where to apply love and affection and care and be gentle with someone to help them unwind from the trauma that they are still holding. Because you can only be aware of trauma in other people's fields because that energy is locked up in their nervous system. You know, I know Adrienne does, you know, body work, and, you know, when you're touching someone, you know, when you're working with someone's body, you can, you know, we call it the issues in the tissues. You can feel these things. So it's beginning to really become aware of how we're engaging with life. Are we blaming ourselves or are we telepathic? You get to decide which one you want to be. You can blame yourself for all your thoughts and your feelings, or you can be hella telepathic. Either way, it really doesn't matter because we engage with the same. The thoughts are okay. The feelings are okay. And anytime it doesn't feel okay, we're only we aren't misaligned in some way, but the thing that we are engaging is just showing us that there's a misalignment in it. On like, you know, all the things that we're essentially doing wrong, right? When we're doing this, like this kind of work, you know, and it's good and essential to like look at these things, because there's power in them, you know, like anger and depression and sadness and all of these things. But also equally, you know, we almost, there's a similar function that occurs when they're like really positive and joyful experiences that we're having, that it never feels like enough, and we're almost like afraid to like fully express it, almost like as if it will like escape us somehow, if we completely engage with it. So to completely engage with it is really like clearing out, you know, this capacity to express that, especially in Western cultures, is like heavily repressed. Because I mean, you go down to South America and people are like dancing in the streets, and you'd think that they would like, from a logical mind, you're like, whoa, they have nothing. They're, you know, their resources are limited. Like, why are they so happy? Because they're like, they're fully expressing themselves, you know, and that's really where, you know, we're headed to, you know, collectively as well, is more expressed. And these kind of issues that are popping up around the world, you know, whatever have you, are really just repressed energies coming out to be expressed. And oftentimes that first shows up as anger, because I mean, wouldn't you be angry if you felt repressed for a long time? So yeah, we're just holding it all in such deep compassion, and you know, eventually there will be lots of joy being expressed around the world. But right now we, you know, we have to face these things, because there is like a layer of, like I call it an emotional spectrum. And sadness is actually when we first start to touch into emotional truth, you know, because sadness is just finally admitting like, yeah, I wish it was some other way than what it is. But again, sadness is wishing for less than what you're destined to receive. But as the nervous system drops below sadness, then there's kind of like this zero space. And then actually below that, as our nervous system drops, it actually gets more sensitive. So everything above that 0 point line is going to be like sadness, anger, and then everything else. And then below that, we become more sensitive, and we're actually more accessible to joy and expansion and bliss and all of these things. But if we try to hold on to it, then we can actually go back into another form of anger, because now we're angry at it not staying around long enough, you know? And so it's just letting ourselves dance like a wave between, you know, whatever shows up. And when it's time to come, it's there for a valuable reason. And when it leaves, it taught us everything we needed. So there's no need to control it. And when we're just receiving value, and we're just focused on receiving value from things, then we're going to have a good experience of whatever it is, regardless of how it feels. And again, that's like tapping more into that quantum space, because you're able to hold, wow, everything is super shitty in the world. And over here, I'm like, wow, like there's so much like space being made for like such expansion, because we're all being attuned to being able to handle the amount of energy that is here. And it's almost like we're like paying credit card debt for humanity that was like owed thousands of years ago, you know, and we're like, we're catching up on our bills right now. And the reason that you're here is because you're capable of handling that, because you're abundant in your resources to interface with it, because you're no longer confusing the emotions that other people could not feel with who you are. And because of that, you're able to casually consider all the emotional options that are given to you on a daily basis. And as you move through the oscillations of up and down, you're freed eventually of feeling up or feeling down. And you're just engaging with things like, oh, wow, I feel very blissful today. Or, wow, I feel really low today. Like, what do I need to nourish myself? So, beautiful share. That actually inspires me again, brother. Thank you. So if we aren't feeling like we're interfacing with things, you're interfacing with things. Because I was feeling this like subtle feeling of like, okay, now I'm trying to just interface with things because that will be easier or whatever, which is true, but attempting to get to that space again is just more time. So if you are experiencing it personally, or whether you're experiencing it as interfacing with things, it doesn't matter, because what is experiencing interfacing or not interfacing with things is being interfaced. Because I can never point to what is interfacing. It's impossible. Every time I talk about interfacing with something, the words that are coming out of my mouth are what is being interfaced with. I am behind that. It is behind what is interface. Like even the idea of interfacing is being engaged with what is interfacing. But the moment I say it, it's already not that. So you can't fuck it up. There's no integration. There's no whatever. I'm just pointing to something that can't be pointed to. And by pointing it out, it makes it easier somehow magically. And then you just go back to your normal life, whether you feel like you're interfacing with things or not. And then it's all fucking okay. Because even if you feel like, oh my God, I'm interfacing or I'm angry or whatever, you're having a personal experience, because at that moment it's required for you to be steeped in the human element so that you can make that more okay. So anytime you're not okay, it doesn't mean that you're not doing things right. It means that you're being brought into more okayness. So the world thinks that it needs to move to a different location, a different time in order for things to be okay, not knowing that what's happening is anything that's not okay is being purged from its collective experience. So there's no movement that needs to occur. There's no shift or change that needs to occur, but yet shift and change will occur, but it's not done by attempting to move there. It's just by fucking sitting in the fire until you become the fire. And that's the unfortunate part for the masculine, because the masculine wants to create it. But the masculine gets the experience of that when it effortlessly comes to it. Otherwise, we are just forcing movement at a time when it's not required, and that is just wasting energy. And that's actually valuable, because the wasted energy of that pattern is actually the pattern dissolving, because it's just going to like get more and more exhausting until you're like, fine, I give up. And then you're just okay, but you're not happy about it, because now you just like kind of lost the game of trying to make things happen and they didn't happen. But actually you won the game, you're just not realizing yet, but you will once that's integrated. Oh my gosh. I love it. You just inspire so many beautiful things out of me. So thank you so much. I love your fancy hand movements. As you were saying is like, yeah, if we really want to practice okayness, like one of my favorite games in life, you know, like mischievousness is like actually a divine quality. Like I like embody a lot of that, like forever. But one of my favorite things to do is like, I can feel when someone's like kind of in this like not okay energy, especially in like in Tulum, which is like spiritual epicenter sometimes of like all kinds of different interesting ideas. But you know, like, oh, we shouldn't complain, we should be positive, like all these things. And then like, we'll be out to dinner with like people and I'll be sitting next to someone and I'll just like, if it feels authentic, like complain about the food, like, yeah, it's awful. Like it could have really been done better. Like all the, you know, just like whatever, just like sharing what like actually feels true about this thing. And they're just like blowing up inside. They're like, you're going to attract more bad meals or, you know, whatever it is. And you're just like, no, this meal is crappy and I don't like it. So that's actually true because, you know, if I feel good saying what's authentic, then that is truth. If I'm complaining, thinking that it's giving me a negative experience, then I'm what you call a low vibration because I'm not like actually enjoying the thing that I'm saying. But like, if I'm like authentically complaining, I'm actually enjoying the authenticity of what I'm saying. I don't have to have a good experience in order to have a good experience. And so that's a really powerful thing. You know, it's like, if you can, you know, authentically be angry and really engage with it, then you're not going to be angry for much longer anyways, because it's just going to become so okay. If you're sad, then you're like, oh, let's be sad. Bring on more sadness. Tell me more things I can be sad about. And it will feel so engaged with, so interfaced with, that it will relinquish its need to teach you more things. And I'm sure many of us have heard something like that, but it's just a powerful reminder, given everything that we've been interfacing with today, and bringing it just back in one more time. It's not just okay to feel any kind of way. It's awesome to feel all the different ways because they each have something amazing to share with us. Well, I could sit here all day with you guys. Definitely not saying goodbye, but unless someone wants to say something. You are doing the dream piece. I don't know if you are or not, if you got the dimethylaminoethanol, DMAE, or galantamine. So galantamine and DMAE both work on acetylcholine. When you take them just before you go to sleep, don't take them like an hour or more before you go to sleep, because especially galantamine, not so much, but DMAE can have a little bit of a stimulating effect and keep you up. But if you take it right before sleep, it'll keep you in that zone where you begin to have really lucid and vivid dreams. DMAE is naturally produced by your body, and it relates to memory and concentration directly. It's a precursor to acetylcholine. And they actually, in Japan and Europe, give it as a treatment and a cure for Alzheimer's. But it's obviously you can't do that in the United States because, you know, it's not a patentable drug. But it will actually pause someone's development into Alzheimer's because the Alzheimer's patients have a natural 80% drop in the amount of DMAE that their body is producing. But if you're already in that kind of natural state and you take it at nighttime, it will help you remember your dreams. Now with the dream journal, wake up. It doesn't matter what it is, just start writing down something from the dream. Whatever you can remember. Maybe it's nothing. Just write nothing's coming to me. It's also, you know, if you really want to start doing the dream work, the best part is to write down the time that you go to bed, so that you can begin seeing like when are you going to bed at a consistent time, because that consistency is going to help you sleep better. And if you sleep better, you're going to have more recall of your dreams. And some of us are more likely to have dream recall than others, just based on our constitution and different things. But the DMAE and the galantamine will definitely help. Don't take both of them at the same time. definitely cycle with DMAE. Galantamine's a little bit different because your body doesn't produce it, but your body does produce DMAE, and you don't want your body to start relying on the supplementation. But for like a week or two, it's not gonna screw your body if you're taking it every day. But it does take a couple of days to build in your system. And yeah, it can be really beautiful to have these dreams. And as you're writing, even if for the first couple of days you have nothing come to you for your journal, it really doesn't matter, because what you're doing is you're telling your nervous system that you want to remember your dreams. And if you consistently do this, you'll start to remember your dreams, because you're telling yourself that it's important that you recall, and recall will begin to happen. And it's really powerful, because at this space, you don't even need to go lucid. Lucid is just like a play toy that people, like to play with, which is fine. There's that whole aspect, but this whole intuitive psychic capacity thing for me is about how to most efficiently and just like deliciously engage with life for your own expansion, and asking questions before you go to sleep for your dreams, or even asking for a transmission of a specific activation. Like, I will literally tell life, like, I want more truth, power, pleasure, ecstasy, joy, whatever in my life, like, give me a transmission of that, and I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up. And then I learned, when I would wake up all like fried out, like, oh, I should ask for like easeful, graceful integration into the body as well. So that's why when I do these things with you guys, I always say exponential potency in equal proportion to the amount of grace, ease, and mercy to the physical and all things affecting the physical. Super important to put that out there, because you can say all these really powerful things, and then your whole nervous system is going to be going through some things. So make sure you put that piece in there. But also maybe don't. Test how powerful you are. It's up to you. I think you guys were amazing. This whole process for me is really powerful as well, because just as much as we're all being activated in different ways for a lot of, just so many different things, like all of it is being channeled through me at the same time. And so it's, this has really been such a huge expansion of my own journey, like a lot of the things that we talked about in this class, I learned in a dream the other night when I was in a class myself, and like this voiceless or this personless classroom with just a voice writing down, telling me what to write down. And I would wake up every couple hours and write things down to be expressed in this class. And so it's really cool to be here with all of you, and we're all expanding in our own unique ways and at our own unique timelines, so not everything has to be fully activated right now, but energetically we've all received a it's a technical term, a fuck ton. And it's important to drink lots of water, rest, sleep, because again, we're activating the fourth eye. Fourth eye is very masculine energy, and that energy through society and culture and on the last period of time has been very overworked. And every time it's feeling like overworked, it tries to continue pushing in order to get things done. But rest and sleep are actually the best ways to integrate and actually activate. Like, we think we need to do things in order for stuff to happen. Actually, not doing things is sometimes the fastest way for things to move. So just laying there and like listening to music, some soft music, is really powerful. So if anyone else wants to share, unmute yourself now or we will leave. Or forever hold your peace, or whatever they say. But we would love to hear from you. All right, my loves. Well, have a beautiful rest of your weekend. And yeah, happy integrations. And yeah, send me anything directly or in the group, any questions or ideas or whatnot, what have you. Otherwise, I will see you on Saturday. And remember your dream journals. All right, I love you guys. Ciao, ciao.
Love everyone. Aloha.
Bye.
Bye, 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 bye,
Bye.
much love.
Aloha.
Bye. Much love.